All right, welcome to Am I the A-hole postpartum edition. This is number 4. And today we have Am I the A-hole for telling my wife to stop acting out in front of my mom? So we have somebody who is 5 weeks postpartum. It's the husband who is writing in on an issue that him and his wife are having. So the wife 5 weeks ago had a baby. Everything from his perspective has been going fine, with the exception of his wife being exhausted. So in that scenario, it seems like the mother-in-law was identified as the most beneficial or available person to come out and help with cleaning and stuff. And then at the same time, the husband was hoping for her to be able to spend time with the baby and bond with him a bit. I want to bookmark that and come back to it later. All right, so the thing is that apparently from his perspective, the wife is acting strange when he sees his mom with their son. She makes faces and has a certain tone of her voice. It seems like she's complaining that the mom is holding the baby and takes too long to give him back. So this has escalated into the point at which the mother and the wife had a dispute over it. The mom ends up crying. He pulls his wife aside, tells her that if she keeps this up, that the mom's not going to help anymore. And she got frustrated with that situation because she obviously didn't feel very supported in that moment. Basically, this escalated into her giving him the cold shoulder, and this is not really a constructive situation, setup. All right. So, is he the a-hole in this scenario? Well, let's start at the start. If this was my client and I was trying to help guide them as far as how to make a situation like this work, what might I suggest? I think it's wonderful that this couple was able to identify that the wife maybe was tired and needed a little extra support in the house. And I think it's wonderful that the mother-in-law made herself available to come out and do some cleaning and help. I think the problem is coming in because of that second part of the expectation here, which was spend time and bond with the baby. We're talking about a pretty early postpartum baby at 5 weeks. And I don't know how long this has been going on for, but 5 weeks postpartum is still very early postpartum. And traditionally, in traditional cultures that have a lot more support built out within the postpartum period, the role of the female family members is primarily to mother the new mother so that she is facilitated in her ability to bond with her own baby. What I see here in this situation is a mother who has a new baby who feels like she is not adequately being given access to her baby. She's getting stressed out at the fact that she feels like she needs to even ask for her own baby. So she feels like she is being placed second, that the mother-in-law's attention is being placed too much on the child, and that her husband in this situation is taking the side of his mother versus supporting her as the new mother and her needs. So let's talk a little bit about this. I think we all are aware of the jokes that go out about mother-in-laws or in-laws in general in our society. So we seem to have an acknowledgement of the potential tension between people and their in-laws. Your in-laws are not the same to you in a familial setting as your parents are. The parents that raised you typically are closer to you than maybe your in-laws are. And I have no idea in this situation what it was that made the decision that the in-laws were going to help in this scenario, the mother-in-law versus her own mother. But for whatever reason, the in-law is the person that was identified in this scenario as the helper. But this is tricky because a mother-in-law, again, doesn't naturally have the same degree of connection to the new mother as her own mother might. And it seems like in this scenario, especially, the expectation of what that mother-in-law's role was maybe had a bit outsized expectation around caring for a baby. No doubt your mother-in-law wants to hold your baby. No doubt she wants to snuggle babies. The problem is that the mother also needs this. She needs to feel connected and close. In early postpartum and even beyond, the mother and baby are essentially one thing. They're a unit together. Their bodies depend on each other and are oriented towards each other. So a baby, especially if a breastfed baby, really depends on that mother and really is cued in and connected to their mother. So when we have a scenario like this where the new mother is feeling like she's needing to negotiate and beg and ask for her access to her own child, you're going to end up with a situation that is going to blow up and end up in conflict. So how might a mother-in-law put herself in a position where she can support this family as they welcome their baby and get time to bond with the infant while avoiding this conflict? Well, first, it's an expectation around what you're there for. If you want to come help a new couple who recently had a baby, focus on household tasks and support roles. Do not have an expectation of holding the baby at all unless you are invited to hold the baby. And then if you are being asked for the baby back, do not argue, simply give the baby back. You have to acknowledge that this is not your baby. So in this scenario, we have an individual who is holding on to a baby too long, and the mother is feeling distressed at the fact that she does not feel like she has immediate access to her baby. And this is a natural distress response. Hormonally, the mother is tied in such a way where this would be a natural expected response of distress because of the fact that she does not feel she has adequate access to her own child. So when a husband reached out to mother-in-law or engaged mother-in-law in this arrangement, the focus definitely should have been, we need help around the house. Would you be able to come and maybe help us clean up a bit and, take care of some meals? Because I really just don't have that energy to do that. And I really want my wife to be able to spend time with her baby and get connected. Mother-in-law could come into the house and provide those services and then provide support, companion support. This means sitting next to new mom and baby instead of trying to reach for and hold, but spending time just connecting to her, talking to her, asking how she's doing, asking if there's anything else she can do to help, just being kind and present, but not ever going and asking to or demanding to hold the baby. By building this relationship in the home, taking care of the mother and her needs, and making the baby secondary, you can actually build a closer bond and connection and start to build trust. That means that the mother will start to be more comfortable with you actually holding the baby. I know it seems counterintuitive, right? Like, you hold the baby by holding the baby less and engaging with the baby less, you actually enable yourself to hold the baby more in the future. And again, this is done through a trust dance. The mother-in-law needs to gain the trust and comfort of the new mother in this situation. She needs to enter in the trust bubble of this new mother. She needs to allow for the new mother and facilitate the new mother in her own bonding with her own infant so that the mother feels secure enough to be able to pass the baby off when she needs to take a shower, or if she wants to go for a walk, or if she wants to take a yoga class and whatever it might be for an hour. That's the kind of thing that needs to happen. But if that does not happen, and instead, the new mother feels like her role in this situation is to facilitate the bonding of the mother-in-law with the infant, and that she somehow has to relinquish her holding or comfort for sake of the mother-in-law, you get a conflict like this. So this is perfectly predictable and perfectly avoidable. So let's talk about the husband's response. We reached a boiling point. So the new mother felt that she reached this point where she could no longer handle it anymore. She was completely uncomfortable and out of her element and wanted her baby back. This ended up coming to blows, essentially, with crying and arguing, and not a good situation. But how did the husband handle it? Well, he didn't really validate her feelings. If a situation like this happens, the best thing you can do as a husband, partner, support person, or father is to support your wife and support the mother. It's to acknowledge that her feelings are fair and legitimate, that they are her feelings. You don't have to agree that she's acting perfectly rational or whatever that might be, but you need to be in her corner because you're supposed to be her partner. And in order for her to trust you and to feel like you're hearing her and that you are supporting her, you need to be able to acknowledge that her feelings are valid. And I think that maybe is where the husband is falling short. he doesn't seem to understand. He's not bothered by the fact that grandma is his mom, who he's very comfortable with, is holding the baby. But he has a much closer relationship, a kinship bond with his own mother. He obviously is very close to his mother, or else he wouldn't have asked her for help in this house. So his trust extends to his mother, but he does not understand that her trust has not been built up appropriately in order for that same trust to happen. So, as a good husband in this situation, and to mitigate the situation, he needed to first validate her. And then he needed to come to her once she is able to calm and feel secure. Let's come to a way that we can work this out and find a solution, because the current situation is not working. And it's not for your wife to suck up her feelings and accommodate your mother. It's more about your ability to come together as a group of people trying to support each other and find a way that you can best support each other. So maybe this needed to look like, Mom, if I think it would be beneficial if maybe you focus on more of the household tasks, or maybe we took a little bit of a break from this situation. You have to come up with some idea, and you should be coming from it from the perspective of supporting your spouse, even if you think that maybe they're overreacting. Okay. Then what? Well, if you come from it after validating your wife, this will allow her nervous system to calm down. If you support her in her desire to want to hold her baby, and you understand that biologically she is programmed to be extremely protective, extremely anxious around the comfort of her baby and being close to her baby, and that your mother does not have the same relationship bond and connection to her, where she is not comfortable in the circle, how do you facilitate a better connection between your mother and her, and also support her in connecting and feeling secure with your baby? There's probably a solution that this couple could work on. I'd probably, again, recommend that the new mother focus less on holding babies and more on household chores and spending time with his wife, having a better communication, just talking casually, friendly, and helping the new mother feel more secure, only taking the baby when it is asked of her, and then giving the baby promptly back to the new mother when asked. I think this is tough sometimes for folks, but it is the best practice in order to create the type of relationship that ultimately will allow you to bond with your grandchild. So, is the husband an a-hole? I would say probably in this scenario. It's the elusive a-hole, right? Like the other ones haven't been. But in this scenario, I would say yes, it was probably not the best way to act, and it was not a kind thing to say to his wife, to invalidate her experience and to not understand. But where does it come from? I think, again, it comes from the fact that he loves his own mother, that he trusts his own mother, and that he does not understand why she does not. He also doesn't understand around the postpartum experience, the hormones, the connection, the need of the new mother to bond with her infant and to feel that the people around her are supporting and that they're safe. And we're just escalating this situation. And it escalated far more than it should have. And I think with a little bit better planning and a little bit better expectation setting, this whole thing could have been avoided. So again, if you are the mother-in-law and you want to help your new daughter-in-law with her baby, take the approach of hands-off baby until you are invited, and always hand the baby back when asked. If you are a husband and you are in a situation like this where maybe there's some conflict, take your wife's side first. Always assume that she's coming from a place of honesty and genuine feeling, and validate those feelings, even if you think they're too much, over the top, or not constructive. You need to start from a place where you are acknowledging that her feelings are real and that she's not crazy, and then you can work from there to help come up with a more constructive plan for how she might handle that situation in the future. But definitely come from a perspective of taking her side. And with that, that's my Am I the A-hole postpartum edition for this particular issue with a mother-in-law and a new baby.